When my grandma sent me this photo, I was first of all shocked by the large letters and the ridiculous tabloid news story, and then second of all, I was curious about how could this ever relate to my grandparents' life. And through asking about the man in the top left corner, I revealed a story behind one of their close friends, a man they called Moose. So, who is in this picture and how do you know him?
Okay, his name is Jim. His nickname was Moose Murphy, and he's an antler dancer with your grandpa at their club, and they were good friends for many years. I became good friends with him as well. He used to be the one that went downtown and waited for the first picnic permit and for their picnic, and he'd be all over the TV. A lot of people know him from that.
For the listeners who do not know, can you explain what the Antler Dancers is?
Why, yes, it is. They've been together many years. I would say 50, over 50 years they've been together. And they fish, they hunt together, they go fishing together. They used to have do fundraisers. They'd raise money for other people and other causes. They don't do much of that no more. They have their own separate bar, where they get together and they hold meetings. It's kind of like the Elks Club or something, like that. It's mostly consists of Chicago firemen, Chicago policemen, and construction workers. Except for Moose, he was an office employee. He worked for Commonwealth Edison, and he had an office job. And for like 35 years, I think he worked there. And, but, he went down to New Orleans a lot.
That's interesting. How did he meet that group of people?
Well, he knew a lot of them went to the same high school. They all hung around together then. He also, he had that great beard. He would spray his beard and be Santa. He wasn't ever married and bachelor the whole time. I would hear stories. He was a great uncle, like to his nieces and nephews and such. And he was just a very good, nice, very nice person. He passed away, though I hate to report that, but he did in March of 2009.
Okay, so we know a little bit about Moose, but how exactly did he get in this situation?
He would go to New Orleans every year for, it said, like 38 years, his sister said he went to New Orleans. And he became very well known down there amongst everyone, the taverns, the restaurants, everything. So one time when he was down there, they approached him to get dressed up. This rag newspaper. He dressed up in, I think, 3 separate outfits, and they paid him something, not a lot, a couple $100. They made up this story. They also notified him when they were going to print the story. This was printed in March 7th, 1995. What a story they made up, huh? He is not Reverend Ray Schubert. It says here he was clinically dead for 12 minutes. He went to hell and back, and all the people he met, and hell is not hot, it's very cold. But that's how that happened, is where they approached him down in New Orleans.
So he didn't know the people that
No,
were writing?
no, he did not. No, he had no connection with them. No connection.
You said he dressed up in 3 separate outfits.
Yes,
Were there different articles?
this was the only one that got printed, the only one they made up. The other 2 costumes or outfits, they didn't do anything with. This is such a rag newspaper. I would hear friends say, "Oh, did you hear about some actress or something, was in this paper?" I tell them, "Don't believe anything you read in that paper." My friend, he became a preacher in that paper. For people to read stuff out of here and then pass it along as gossip is really funny, At Bunko, my one friend Linda, she would always tell a story from there. I'd say, "Linda, I'm telling you, don't believe anything you read in that paper." "Oh, no, they said,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, crazy. I guess trash sells, I guess.
It does. You still have it years later.
This was $1. This paper cost $1.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. And this paper, I went out and bought copies and I mailed them each to your mom and because they were away at college. And I
Mhm.
thought, boy, would that be cool for them to show their friends at college this paper.
You've mentioned this story a couple times, so please tell the story of how he became the first picnic permit person.
Okay, there was another gentleman who waited and waited. He waited forever. So, this was before computers. It was not done online to apply for a picnic permit. So you would have to go down and get in line for the permit. So he would go down there before New Year's Eve to be the first one in line for January 2nd from the Forest Preserve picnic permit, office. They're not open on January 1st. So he would camp out in a lawn chair down there. He beat the other guy out who had done it for years and years. And he would be all over the TV. They would have him, oh, Moose is back, waiting for the permit.
Elmer Tucker learned a lesson the hard way Friday. You can't always be first to get in line for a Cook County Forest Preserve picnic permit.
Elmer Tucker has been the first in line to get a picnic permit since 1972. Sometimes he has spent several days in line to make sure that he gets his choice of locations, times, and days. Well, Elmer Tucker's 10-year record has been broken. Sitting over there in the #1 position is Jim Murphy, a 33-year-old part-time bartender who also works for Commonwealth Edison. Murphy arrived here at the Daily Center at 4:45 Thursday afternoon. He'll spend 3 days and 4 nights waiting in line to get his permit on Monday. Murphy's permit will be for the Antler Dancer Sportsman's Club, of which he is a member.
It's good for the club, and plus, I could say that I actually did it, I got it for the club and everything. And personal satisfaction, I don't have either.
Is this the first time you've ever done anything like this?
Yeah, for getting a picnic permit, yeah.
But now the question is, how much in advance are Elmer and Jim willing to start waiting in order to be first? Could this turn into weeks and even months of waiting?
He's got to beat me to the punch, so he's got to be one step. You got to think ahead. That's all.
So you and Elmer are going to have a duel next year?
Maybe, if he stops down here, yeah. If he doesn't stop down here, then just like this year. I won't have anybody to fight for #1.
First time he did it, myself and Ski, your grandpa, and our kids, which would be your mother, all went down there, and we were on the news. I bought him cold sausage and sauerkraut sandwich, and we bought him all kinds of food, and they made a cute poem on one of the channel, I think it was Channel 7 News, about how he replaced the other guy and how their friends came down to visit him. And so your mom was on TV, on the news for that. Being his first guest down there. Anyway, every year he waited for that picnic permit. But then, eventually it went online. You don't even wait in line downtown no more. And he would, New Year's Eve, we would always go out New Year's Eve up to the Antler Dancer Club. And he would get on the train and ride the train, come down, visit us for New Year's Eve a little bit, and then get back on the train and go back up to where he was sitting waiting. Well, that's kind of snitching on him, huh? That he left.
A little bit.
A little bit.
That's okay.
It's a funny story.
Yeah.
I always thought, you're very brave of you to ride that thing at midnight. But he said, look at me. Who's going to bother me? He would say to me. He was very nice.
So what exactly inspired Moose to do the whole picnic permit bit?
Used to have antler dancers, used to have a picnic. There'd be hundreds of people would come. The men did all the work and everything. Well, they were required a picnic permit. And I don't know, he just wanted to dethrone the last one and be the first one to get the permit, I guess. I don't know. Be famous for that. And a lot of people knew him. You would say, my friend Moose Murphy's on TV. Oh, yeah, a lot of people knew him from seeing him in the news, every beginning of the year. Years later, we went down to New Orleans for another friend's wedding. And in one of the bars, there was a plaque on the wall with his picture and the article about him waiting for the first picnic permit. They had a spotlight on it even. It was laminated. And I want to tell you, when we went to that wedding, it was like shocking to walk in a bar and we said, there's Moose. He was on the wall, with this article. Not this article, but an article about him being the first picnic person.
And so that was Moose. Kind of a strange guy, but in a really good way. And according to my grandma, knowing him was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I'm glad that I got to hear about it.